Hey everybody, how's it going today? Let me try to turn up the volume. Yes, how's it going today? I'm going to be going over another book review today, and this one is by Sam Walton, Made in America. This guy literally, I think, he made throughout his whole career something like 160 million dollars. That's 1 point, no, 160 billion dollars. I think it was 1.6 trillion. Look it up if you guys want. By some financial guru or something. But basically, just I wanted to just debunk some of the qualities Sam Moulton wrote in his book, which I follow a lot basically. Um, and he was a guy who had above all he had the quality of being outward humble. If any of you follow Ty Lopez. Go on his website as well. And if you're in his programs, right? He talks about the story how Sam Walton one day brought store owners from Sao Paulo to Brazil, and they thought that they would get answers from Sam Walton, but at the end, Sam Walton began to ask them questions and answers, and then Ty Lopez goes into how Sam Walton went to Brazil, and he actually was thrown in jail really for having measured the aisles of the Brazilian supermarkets, right? Trying to find out anything which these Brazilians knew, which in the U.S. he didn't know at all. And that just shows you how outwardly humble he is. What I mean by that is that Charlie Munger said it probably the best. The partner of Warren Buffett, when he said in his UC speech, right, in 2007 at the University of California, he gave a speech basically to the graduate school, and he said how in life though there are only really two knowledges in life, right? One is the Planck knowledge. Those are the people who have paid their dues, paid the aptitude, done their homework, know what they're actually talking about. And then you have chauffeur knowledge, and those are the people who walk the walk. They have a hair. They can say whatever they want, but they don't know anything, And most of life, sorry to say though, but a lot of life is that though. A lot of people with chauffeur knowledge walk around in life basically, and that's not a good thing in life, right? And so it's really important just to distinguish basically if you get yourself caught in chauffeur knowledge, right, thinking you know everything, right, talking a lot, right, lip service, right, doing a lot of lip service and stuff, really it's really important to read this book, Sam Walton, because he will give you the inspiration of a guy who didn't know anything basically, right. In his book though, he actually writes how he's never really how no one else ever, according to him, has ever started out how he started out. So he started out as a complete neophyte, swept the floors, learned his skill basically, networked his way as well, via friends, allies and stuff, and built the organization into one of the biggest brands in the world, Walmart, and it's just funny to him say, right? Michael Gerber talks about this as well, right? Walmart sells basically commodities, but they sell commodities better than anyone else ever sells them. That's why I think they're still the best. They're the number one retail store in the world. I'm not sure. You have to look that up. But just some, the key points basically, right? So if you read through the book basically, Sam Walton gives an ending basically about the 10 rules which have worked for him basically, right? And well, I mean, you can also take this if you're, if you're an entrepreneur building something, working on something. or just for life, basically, right? So he says, number one, of course, commit to your business. Number two, share profits with associates. Number three, motivate partners. Number four, communication. Number five, appreciate. Number six, celebrate. Number seven, listen. Number eight, exceed. Number nine, control expenses. And number 10, swim upstream. Now, you could solely take this as a business viewpoint, like how he points out in this book, basically, right? But what you can also do, which I've done in my life, basically, right, is take this as well as though how you live your life, basically, right? So like, just like let's get number one rule first, right? Commit. So as we know, right, to achieve almost anything in your life, right, you have to be committed to something, right? And I mean, Sam Walton uses in his book, actually, he uses this to like analogy, because he says in his book that many people have always told him, basically, right, throughout his life, if you had another life, would you have done the same, right? And he said, I would have done pretty much everything the same. And he says, I viewed my life as a trade-off. So it means if I wanted to achieve something, I had to commit to it until the end. So of course I was trading off that for something else. I don't know. Robert Kiyosaki writes as well in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad the importance of delaying gratification if you're an entrepreneur starting out, right? And wanting to build something and stuff. Sam Walton, of course, was not a cockamamie at all. He earned his right to be where he was, and he worked up consistently, committing to what he wanted to achieve, basically, right? And of course, number two, share, motivate, but like number four, communication, right? So, how important is this in life? Well, if you take me, for instance, right, I always communicate a lot to my mentor, as well as like friends, and family members when I have issues and stuff, and so it helps me stay in tune, right, with my stuff, because of course I don't have all the answers and stuff. So you want to reach out, basically, and stuff, and find the answers, because I think we're actually taught wrong in life. I think when someone says the answers are within, I would argue really the opposite. I would argue the answers are without. That that in life you want to try to adopt Pablo Picasso's quote when he said, good artists copy, great artists steal, people. So it's about going out there in life, basically, and then extrapolating important knowledge for your life, or like if you want to take Newton's quote when he said, if I'm great, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants, So I do the same, basically, right? I read a lot of books and stuff, just with everything, I'm trying to become more eclectic in life, have more like a broad range of stuff, and that's about it, though. So number five, appreciate. Six, celebrate. Celebrating is also important. Anthony Robbins talks about this when he says, when you fail, you ponder, but when you succeed, you celebrate first, and then you pay it forward. That means bring what you have to someone else, and then that sense of fulfillment in your life extends, basically, right? Number seven, listen, people. Wow, listen has been probably one of the biggest assets I've had in my life, basically, because I've actually adopted this listening technique from my favorite athlete, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, who's arguably one of the greatest NBA basketball players to have ever lived, basically, right? In his book, The One Life by Roland Lazenby, right? Roland goes into how the fact that Michael Jordan's coaches told him that that the biggest trait Michael Jordan has was simply that the the ability to listen in life, basically, right? The ability to listen what his coaches told him, and then go out there and assimilate to it, right? Um, Now, with that, of course, that can be also dangerous, right? Because most people's opinions and most people's knowledge is quite inaccurate. So, I've also tried to adopt the other side about it. So, Abraham Lincoln said, that um, I listen to everyone in my life, but most of the time it was what not to do. So, you want to have that in mind as well, right? Because you don't want to listen to every single person in the sense that most people's knowledge is what Ty Lopez called static interference. So it just sound basically, and you don't want that in life, basically. You want to go straight up to the top to the people with the most knowledge, not because they're infallible, because of course they're also human beings, so they also make mistakes, but it's a better bet on your life. It's a better probability for you. So I've always tried to go straight to the top, straight to the founders of any ideas and or anything, and then learn from them, basically. And then number 8, exceed. Number 9, control expenses. And number 10, swim upstream. So with number 10 as well, right? Sam Walton actually didn't swim upstream all the way, all the time, but it's really important, I think, from like the Sam's book, sometimes to like to take the opposite route, basically, right? I don't want to use this, sheep lion analogy, because I think we're all humans, so we all have our own ways in life, But sometimes in life, sometimes I've figured out that the best thing to do on some tasks or on some of my actions is to go away from what most people say, right? Or like go away from what most people think. I'll give you an example, right? And of course, I am generalizing here, so it's like not only me who thinks this, a lot of other people think this, but then a lot of other people could also criticize what I'm saying, right? And I'm no expert on this either, okay? But when it comes to predicting, forecasting in the future, right? I think that especially in the modern economics, right, when we have this illusion of the being able to like the long-term forecast, right? It's quite inaccurate, right? And so like I follow what Nassim Nicholas Taleb wrote in his book Black Swan. So that that you cannot predict too much into the future, basically, because the future is really uncertain, complex, volatile, etc. Basically, so that's one thing which I tend to deviate when it comes to what we're told in school, right? Because I think it's quite inaccurate. But that's only my opinion, of course. Everyone else can have their own opinion, right? So I want to end this as well by saying the last point from this book, Made in America by Sam Walton, was the fact when I read a part about it when David Glass in the book, David Glass, which was the former chairman and CEO of Walmart stores, and now he owns the Kansas City Royals baseball team in the U.S. For those who follow baseball and stuff, right? So yeah, David Glass basically, right, wrote in his book. He said, like the two traits which I would ascribe Sam Sam Walton had, right, that almost no one else had, really, right. Number one was just the mere fact that Sam Walton got up every morning wanting to achieve something new. He wanted to always grow, right. Abraham Maslow said, you either step forward into growth or you step back into safety, right? So I think as well, I try to wake up every single morning and try to achieve more, grow more, whether in my knowledge, whether in my spirit, whether in my physical body, right? whether it's in my relationships and stuff with my friends, etc. Right? Um, and then of course the second trait David Glass said about Sam Walton was the fact that Sam Walton was never afraid of being wrong. In life, we always tend to be afraid of being wrong in life. Because we might get laughed at, because we might get hurt. Because we might get ridiculed, whatever, right? But Nietzsche also said, naturally, if you're gonna try to rise above um, the common herd mentally. I'm not saying physically, rise above the common herd, because we're all the same people, really. But if you're gonna rise above the common herd mentally, basically, in your thoughts, basically, right, you will get ridiculed. Period. And so it's really important to understand that we are all emotional beings, and this goes back to psychology and stuff. We are not always quite rational and stuff. Daniel Kahneman goes into this with his thinking fast and slow, System 1, System 2. Nassim Taleb as well goes into this with his book, The Black Swan and Anti-Fragile. Like Sam Walton, basically, right? Any mistake he did, Glass said that he would just shake it off and walk the other way. And it's really that simple in life, people. In life, whatever happens, so what? It, it happened, and that's it. You walk away, and you just move on in life. I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you must keep going forward. In that same sense, right? It's about pushing yourself forward in spite of any hazards or anything else in life, right? And so I've just learned that to like never dwell on my past, basically never dwell on like reverses or on emotional upsets in my life, and just to like to move forward and to not think too much either in the future. I mean, of course, I have dreams. I try to like to dream every morning what my daydream is, and then I try to accomplish that. But then of course I try to live in the present moment, because Thich Nhat Hanh said, life is available only in the present moment. We have no other time but now, right? And so it's important to understand present awareness, and there are also multiple techniques about this. You guys can look it up on YouTube, by a guy named George Mumford, who was the psychologist basically of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and like a lot of the other famous NBA players, LeBron James. I think it was Kobe Bryant as well. I'm not sure. You guys have to look that up. I'm not sure. And then there was another guy who was his partner called John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn, who's also really expert in this, awareness, mindfulness, basically, being aware of the present moment. You guys can also look him up and stuff. He has a lot of good videos on the importance of now, and the importance of the present moment. So that's it, guys. This is really a wonderful book. Ty Lopez said it cost us $5, so it's a great investment, basically, and you're learning literally from, I would argue, probably the second richest entrepreneur in the world. I think the first richest was John Rockefeller with Standard Oil. I think he earned more than what Sam Walton earned, but still, $160 billion is still a lot of money, throughout your whole lifetime, So great knowledge, wisdom in that, Thanks, guys, and I'll be around for the next book review. Keep you posted. Ciao.